So how's it going, motherfuckers? I haven't done a WWE related video in a while, so I figured I'd do one right now. Let's talk about WrestleMania. Not a whole lot of excitement. You know, it's very hard to really put into words about exactly how it doesn't feel like Mania season. Some people here in the YWC feel that it does feel like Mania season. Some people say that it doesn't. I'm on that side of the fence. I say it doesn't. I've said this for years. This is nothing new. People are going to use arguments against me, saying that maybe it's going to WrestleMania will be good. I'm not saying that. Might be good. In fact, I somewhat enjoyed last year's show. You know, I'm not saying that I'm going to hate it. I'm just saying it doesn't feel the build towards every WrestleMania, whether it's good or not. For example, you know, I'm just saying that I wasn't going to enjoy WrestleMania 31, for example, and I ended up enjoying it. You know, I said that I wasn't going to really enjoy WrestleMania 30, and I ended up, you know, there was many times where I said this, and I was talking about the build, really. You know, we could always be surprised by a good show. Sometimes they put their best foot forward. But just think about all these shows that turned out being good, how much better they would have been if they, you know, just applied a little bit more build-up into it. But they're not going to do that. You know, they've got their own style of doing things. And so, like I said, I haven't been watching any full shows as of late. Just been watching a couple of YouTube videos of things that interest me. You know, I watched the Elimination Chamber match with Bray Wyatt winning the title. Good match. Not saying they, you know, that they don't have good matches anymore. They've had good matches. That was never my complaint. If you guys noticed, when I said that I would stop watching the shows, you know, to completion, and stop doing my weekly reviews that I have stood by. I haven't done any reviews of them. I've done small reactions and different types of vids, you know, reacting and talking about different happenings. But I haven't watched the shows. It's because it's not about the matches. I talked about it's the storylines, it's the creative direction. These are the problems I have with it. I watch it as a show, right? It's not just matches. Like I said, the promos are not good. The storylines are not good. This is not what WWE is supposed to be. This is not the Attitude Era. This is not the Ruthless Aggression Era. I put up with it time and time again. As I get older, I said it's not really worth watching these shows anymore. A lot of people, and people have told me for years, wasting time watching it. And there's still many more people watching it. I do these videos if people want to know to entertain the fans. I really don't want to talk about this stuff. It doesn't really interest me anymore. But I don't also want to abandon subscribers who subscribe to this channel expecting, you know, wrestling talk. So, like I said, I try to accommodate these fans. It's not something in my life right now that I'm really contributing time to. Like I said, I'd rather, you know, use my spare time with other things, you know, dedicate my mind to maybe more thought-provoking things, as you can see, you know, greatly reflected on this channel. But we'll talk. I mean, there are a couple of interesting things happening, semi-interesting things happening within the WWE right now, leading up to WrestleMania. One of those things is the WrestleMania card. You know, it's unpredictable. We can kind of see that it's taking shape. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. We've got Kevin Owens and Goldberg. I think Goldberg might win the Universal title. This kind of came out of nowhere. Once again, another example of how WWE's build is complete fucking shit. And we see it, you know, time and time again. We've been seeing it for years. There's matches that we get to see, matches that we want to see. We do. But they're not presented as they would years ago, where there would be massive build. And I'm saying, can you imagine if there was great build to a Kevin Owens-Goldberg match? It could be great. But I think we greatly see, and what I'm laughing at is I had the big argument in the YWC. I said when Kevin Owens won the title, It was going to be exactly like when Dean Ambrose won the title, or when AJ Styles won the title. It was not going to be what people thought it was going to be. It was not going to be this big epic moment that was going to save the entire company. It wasn't going to boost ratings. And how did they think simply changing an imaginary belt was going to, create a surplus of ratings? It was not going to happen. That boost was imaginary. It was not going to occur. But these people kept on, they kept this idea living. Credit to them. They're positive thinkers, I guess. But, this is positivity that's just misguided. I mean, come on, guys. This is just a show. And the show is still going to be written the same way as long as you have Stephanie McMahon in charge of creative and you have the same goofballs and the same out-of-touch owner. You think that things are going to change? There's minor changes. They're implementing, different things. They're bringing Goldberg back. As you see, it's really quite sad how they're managing things. You're having your little nostalgia trip. See, this is how WWE always does it. Things are bad. They're having a hard time getting over talent because they have no idea how to build these characters. They have guys that they want to be big stars, but they don't understand why they're not becoming big stars when they're losing all the time or they're portrayed in a certain manner. I mean, so this is like, it's very counterproductive all the time. They keep running around in circles. They're not building any new stars from year to year. They're introducing new guys. They push new guys, but they push them in weird ways where they're not really winning matches and they're not being presented as, as tough or cool or anything. You've got these lame, politically correct characters. They're not taking any chances. There's no big moments anymore. So there's no wonder we're not seeing another Stone Cold and there's not another Rock. And maybe those are the poor terms I've said. There's never going to be another Rock. There's never going to be another Stone Cold. Never going to be another Undertaker. But there could be new individuals with new personalities that could be equally as popular. Who's to say that, this is just that? Like, it's, that's the end of it. There's never going to be another popular... Well, there is never going to be another popularity boom in wrestling. Because there hasn't been a moment that has been big or worthy to really garner more interest in the product. I mean, there's no big moments. You're not going to have your big Hell in a Cell moment. You're not going to... Because you don't have the characters supporting it. You could have all these big moments happening, all these big stunts with Shane McMahon dropping the elbow off the top of the Hell in the Cell. But as long as there's not enough else interesting things going on, it has to be consistent. You can't just throw things out there on pay-per-view at a split second and have big stunts and expect people are just going to all sit down and watch like they used to back in 1998. It's not going to happen, and it's not going to happen anytime soon. And they're not showing any signs of going back to that style or going back to that style of writing and creativity. There's nothing creative that happens anymore. We're just throwing things out there that, okay, we're going to throw Kevin Owens and Goldberg. We don't need to really create any story or build up towards this. We're just going to, this is a dream match. I don't know really who's dreaming of that match, but whatever, it might have crossed some fan on some dark corner of the YWC's mind. I mean, I'm interested in seeing it. I'm going to watch on the network. I'm going to observe this match. And it would be interesting if Goldberg won the Universal title. It would also, put an end to a very, very uneventful, uninspiring reign for Kevin Owens. I'm having a feeling this match could go one of two ways. Obviously we're going to see Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. Obviously this is going to be a match that's going to be booked. But will that be for the title, or will Brock Lesnar and Goldberg be for the title? I'm leaning a bit more towards Goldberg winning the title and wrestling Brock Lesnar for it. I mean, I think that because that's going to add a bit more excitement to that match. It's going to be a little bit more on the line than, say, Jericho and Kevin Owens, fighting over the title. Because I think they've noticed that Kevin Owens is not really getting this company any big ratings. It's not really generating a very positive response. So that's interesting. That could go one of two ways. I'm kind of interested to see how that's going to turn out. I am very surprised they're going back to Miz and John Cena. After that was a pretty unsuccessful main event at WrestleMania 27, which was a very poor Mania. Maybe, it was up there with, say, WrestleMania 9 as being one of the worst shows. It was a pretty bad Mania. They're going back to that again. But Miz's character is actually better now than it was then. And I gave credit even before I stopped on. I said Miz was on top of his game. He was cutting some great promos. Him and Maurice, it was meshing very well. I said he was like the best thing on SmackDown. SmackDown is still a much, much better show. And so I'm looking at Miz and John Cena. That does seem like it could be an interesting match. It's going to be a mid-card match. There's some talk of Nikki Bella and John Cena in the mixed tag match with Miz and Maurice. I don't see that happening. I find it very hard to believe that they would relegate John Cena and John Cena especially. I mean, a guy of his stature, to throw him into a mixed tag match, I just don't see that happening. After all the main events at WrestleMania that this guy has done, they're going to throw him into a mixed tag match, which is something that you would see on a Raw or SmackDown. You would not see this at a WrestleMania with these particular people. You might see that with Mark Merrow and Goldust, but I don't think that they would put Cena in that type of role. I think we're going to just have a straightforward match, and that's fine with me. I mean, that seems like that could be an okay match. Though I'm not expecting any big athleticism in that one, but that's, once again, when wrestling was at the top of its game, that's not really what it was all about. It was not really about, who could do the most flips. It might be a good match, and I'm open to seeing it. And you've got two good characters in there, and like I said, Cena really has been like the best thing on the fucking show half the time. So it would make sense, him and Miz. I mean, whatever you say, all the hate towards Cena, I see this guy putting on some great matches. And people make the argument, oh, they're carrying Cena. I don't really think so. I don't see a lot of carrying of anybody. I see this guy really putting all he has into these matches. That's why I said my perspective on Cena changed. I really started noticing that this guy was really working his ass off. It's mostly the character that I didn't like. But now when you see Cena go out there, it's less cheesy. He's more straightforward. And maybe he should have always been that way. I'm not going back on the cheesy moments that this guy had during promos. But, I can't really write this guy off as a lousy wrestler. He's really the exact opposite. He's actually quite good. He's had some really, really good matches. To take that away from him would be foolish, and I think people sound quite foolish. If all you want, the YWC right now likes WWE, it's because they're putting on some good athletic performances. They're not psychologically sound, and they might just be a lot of indie style, but they're good. Cena's putting forth some good matches, so we can't take that away from him. So talk about the very, very strange idea that they had. I thought it was going to just be Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton, but they're throwing AJ Styles into the mix. There was talk of Luke Harper, but I think they've pretty much settled on a triple threat at this point. So the thing is, right now, what I'm not really understanding is, I don't know, this sort of cheapens the Rumble, as many people were saying. That, you've got somebody entering into this match, and you couldn't just build up a good story. You already have build up between Orton and Bray Wyatt. I haven't been following the story that closely, but you do have these two guys. This should have been built up longer and longer to make it more effective. Like I said, I never really bought into Randy Orton being a part of the Wyatt family. I think that was a very bizarre choice. The fact that he looks nothing like the stereotypical Wyatt family member really hurts his cause in this group. It kind of hurts the storyline, but credit for them trying something at least. But yeah, I mean, he wins the Rumble just so, AJ could jump in the match. I mean, they should have. This is a great argument that was brought up when Sean Ross Sapp brought it up. I remember I was watching Wrestling Inc. before Wrestling Inc. went off the fucking rails. They were talking to Vince Russo about this, and they were talking about the fact that rematches kind of hurt the momentum a lot of times. So they're like, oh shit, we have to do a rematch. We've got to give this guy. Sometimes they've glossed over the rematch. What about Randy Orton? Randy Orton. After Daniel Bryan won the title in the triple threat match where Randy Orton was champion, he never got his rematch. So, but then sometimes they say, oh, we have to follow our own rules. I mean, like I said, it's imaginary. It's a show. It's scripted. No one is really going to notice if you kind of don't follow your own rules, or just get rid of that rule slowly. Just disengage and just let it ride off into the sunset where people won't really remember it. Wrestling is so inconsistent in so many ways. It's not going to really matter if they push that to the side. Rather, they be more consistent with their storylines, not the imaginary rules that they made up. Like I said, they backed themselves into a corner, and now they have to throw a guy in there that doesn't really have a lot to do with what's going on, but they just want to get him in there so it fits in with the rules. So, I don't know, that's a bit of a mess. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like I said, Randy Orton winning the Royal Rumble, I wasn't losing my mind like a lot of other YWC members, because like I said, I think Randy Orton's probably one of the more reputable people now on the roster. So I can't really knock the guy. I mean, like I said, I've learned to appreciate Orton and Cena because I see all these other jobbers on the roster and they're just not getting it done. I mean, I look at this roster and it seems like a barren wasteland. They could do things with this talent, but also these guys, they just look like nobodies. And Orton and Cena are looking like $1 million. They're looking like movie stars, and these other guys are looking like bums. They're looking like a bunch of nobodies, and it really is. It's getting quite sad. I mean, they didn't seem as talented to me when compared to other guys, but that's when other people were on the roster that seemed larger than life. And I noticed that a lot of people attack me over Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan had a special aura about him. And if you're denying that, then okay, that's just your opinion. People always say, oh, you're attacking smaller guys and everything. Well, Rey Mysterio was a smaller guy. I always supported him. I always liked the guy. I think that him trying to get into the business with this many injuries is not a good idea for him, but whatever. Not about Rey Mysterio. But the thing is, there was something special about Daniel Bryan. It wasn't just all about his yes chant. When he was out there, the guy had charisma. He wasn't exactly $1 million speaker. He didn't have a silver tongue. But the guy seemed special. He did from the moment he walked down in NXT. Like I said, when I used to go to Ring of Honor shows and see this guy as champion, he looked like a champion. Even though he was a small guy that was like 5'8", he really stood out. He interacted well with the crowd. This guy knew how to work a crowd. He really did. When he was working as a heel champion of Ring of Honor, this guy was really doing a bang-up job. And that is maybe why WWE was interested in him. They might have seen this. He didn't look like anybody particular. Like when he was in Ring of Honor, he was a skinny little nothing really, a pale guy that, he didn't really look like much of a star. But when they grew his beard and his hair, I kind of saw why they did that. So he didn't look so vanilla. And so, but the guy did have a certain level of magic to him. And you just don't see that magic, that same level of magic in a T.J. Perkins. And if you're going to, try to say like, oh, but you're missing the point completely. The guy had a special connection with the crowd that is very rare. He was a great talent. And this was a guy where he really did work a style where he did make his moves and submissions look believable. And you can't lie to me and say when this guy did his kicks that they looked pretty real. I mean, this was a guy that knew how to work. He knew how to, work a crowd. And that was why I was a big fan of him. Like I said, I think there was a silent charisma about Daniel Bryan. He didn't really need to say a whole lot to be charismatic, and I think it was a very rare ability. And we see that, even like with The Undertaker. This guy is charismatic, but he's not exactly the best on the mic. He's not bad on the mic. I'm not going to take anything away from the guy, but he's not exactly silver-tongued. He's not like Stone Cold. He's not like The Rock when it comes to talking on the mic, but the guy is charismatic. There's other ways people could be charismatic other than, having catchphrases on the mic and all that. Let's be perfectly honest. So, I'm hearing that argument come up time and time again. So, that's my viewpoint. So, anyway, like I said, you see Orton, you see Cena, and you see the charisma compared to other guys that are just not getting, and that's not their fault. It's not their fault. There's things that they could do to these guys' appearances. Change their hair, change their facial hair, change their outfits. That's the thing. It's like, remember The Rock? The Rock looked plain as fuck. That's a big thing about it. Appearance goes a long way. Before they put this guy in the nation and started having him, dress in like $1,000 clothing, this guy was just the plain tights with the white boots. He had like, a very geeky looking haircut. He didn't look very tough. The guy was 6'5", 275 pounds, but he came out there smiling like a dork, and nobody liked him because it seemed very generic, very cheesy, very cornballish, and not very likable, not very cool. No one was saying, "Oh, Rocky Maivia is awesome." No. But when he became The Rock and he started wearing the sunglasses, started saying cool stuff, they had him, talk in a different style, refer to himself in the third person. Then that's when he started to finally get to where he needed to be, as far as a performer and, So, and that's the thing. It's the same thing with Stone Cold when he was in WCW with the blonde hair. I don't care what anybody says. I looked at him, he looked like a jobber. He didn't even look like a guy that deserved the United States title, to be quite honest with you. But the guy shaves his head, puts on black tights, and it works. Different things work. You just need to see these things. You need to figure out the combination, figure out the chemistry, figure out the equation with these guys. And I guess there's just nobody really there seeing it, and I guess with Stephanie McMahon heading things, and McMahon's lost his touch. We see that McMahon, this is the funny thing what I've noticed. They keep saying that Vince Russo's filter was McMahon. But it seems that it was the other way around. It seems like Vince Russo was the filter for Vince. Because we see when Vince is on his own, and he just has a whole bunch of yes men, and nobody's combating him in any way, or with Stephanie, we see that the product is very generic. You look at 1995, for example, and you see like there's just no, completely out of touch, just pure shit, right? Not a good year, arguably one of the worst, but actually 95 looks pretty good compared to now. It seemed more exciting, a little bit more fun, a little bit more colorful than it is now. It's very just dreary, the whole fucking product. But we noticed that when Vince Russo was there, things were more exciting, right? So how come, if Russo was bad, this is why I always try to say, and people just say, oh, I'm just being a Russo mark. That I've been brainwashed by Russo. But the thing is, I've really thought about it. When McMahon's on his own, and he just has a whole bunch of yes men, and F. Ferrara and Russo are not there, the product fucking sucks. But when they were there, and there was more opposition, where you had somebody like Paul Heyman writing for SmackDown during the Ruthless Aggression era, we saw that there was a much different tone to the product. So these people were acting like filters for McMahon. McMahon wasn't acting as filters for them. So that's a very interesting. I never really heard anybody put it in that way. And if they did, okay, then I'm just echoing them. But that's how I view it. It's like McMahon I think he's a smart, creative guy, but I think he needs somebody to jolt those creative juices. Because right now, just everybody's being lazy, and he's a little old, you know. Let's be perfectly honest. Guy's getting a little bit up there. I don't think he's really seeing things the way he used to, and you know, like there's nobody really telling him he's doing a bad job. No one has any balls. They're scared that he's going to be fired. They've went through a lot of head writers already. But if you notice, they've went through so many head writers, but yet there's no change really in the product. They're still in the same place they were years ago. And things just progressively get worse. You know, this is why they're listening to the fans so much, and they've become very indie style, is because they've kind of given up on their writers and like, oh, let's just listen to what these asshole fans are saying. And then we notice that how even shittier the product has gotten since they started listening to these internet fans. So as we can see, you know, WrestleMania is not really shaping up to look bad. I think people might be surprised that I'm saying this, because I don't like the current product right now. It's not that I'm saying this is the worst time it's ever been. I think it sort of is in a way, but there's some more interesting things happening now with the product than say like 2 years ago. I don't know if that really makes a lot of sense, but I'm just right now at the point where like I really should have been, you know, this way with the product from this perspective years ago. I don't know how I managed to watch all those 3-hour Raws. Wow, I was watching 3-hour Raws since 2012. I was watching all 3 hours, like all the way up until like the summer of 2016 when I stopped. I mean, that's pretty outrageous. I mean, that's a lot of wasted time, really, on a product that only like got progressively worse. It was a fucking waste of time, is what it was. Well, guys, like I said, it's not really like a bad WrestleMania. There's some interesting matches. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Not really like that enthusiastic, but I'm going to check it out, and I probably will review WrestleMania. That is a show that I will watch. I will watch that one to completion. That is Mania. You know, I'm not really expecting anything really major to happen. Because, like I said, you know, there really hasn't been anything in all these years that has happened that's going to be so major. But, you know, there's some things that will be fun. Like I said, I'm even looking forward to seeing, like, The Miz and Cena. I think that might be a decent match. There's two entertaining personalities in that match, and, hey, it might be good. So, keeping an open mind about this Mania. It's just, yeah, the build-up, they just really haven't made it all that exciting. They've been, like, all over the map. I, you know, don't really understand, like, why they squashed Lesnar at Survivor Series. They had this completely goofy booking for the Royal Rumble. That was a bad Rumble. I mean, I can't believe that people, like, even, like, What Culture, you know, What Culture was even defending this Rumble, saying the 10 good things. There was no good things about that Rumble, okay? The only good things were like Goldberg and Undertaker face to face, but other than that, they goofed it up. That should have been a big part of the Rumble. They should have had Lesnar, Taker, and Goldberg all in there at the same time, brawling it out. They should have eliminated everybody and just went at it. And they all should have been within the final four. The way how they booked that Rumble was just, it was retarded as fuck. I mean, that was an example of a company that does not know how to book, that does not know how to write, that doesn't have a creative bone left in its body. It was sad. It was pathetic. It was, you know, like I said, another missed opportunity that in a company that is full of missed opportunities. So, I mean, they are taking a chance there with Goldberg and Owens. Like, let's have that match while we got Goldberg on our roster. But they're not delivering on the proper build-up. You know, and really it's kind of underwhelming. Kevin Owens versus Goldberg. Goldberg, this big historic star, you know, during the Monday Night Wars. And Kevin Owens, who wasn't there for any of it, he's a current star. But he's like a champion that just, he got the belt pretty much due to Finn Balor being injured and because the internet fans really wanted it really badly. So they kind of sped things up on that. Anyway, guys, I don't know. Mania doesn't look bad. There's some interesting factors about it. But other than that, I don't know. And I don't know even where they're going with The Undertaker or what they're going to do with him. I want to say that maybe, just maybe, they might have Roman Reigns and The Undertaker, since he did eliminate him from the Rumble. That would be really interesting. I hope they do that. That could be good. But, you know, that remains to be seen. Like I said, I would have really liked to see Baron Corbin take on The Undertaker. I think that would have been a much better match. But, you know, we'll see. Anyway, guys, doesn't look terrible right now. Just want to give you guys an update on how I feel about the current product. It's not like I'm hating it, just disinterested. Okay? All right. Till next time.